And it was like this really great thing that we did. And then we found out that our actions had negative consequences, but we were such a backstabbing, horrible group of people that we found out like everybody that we tried to save and gave up so much for, every single one of them died probably a horrendous death. And all of us were just like standing in the middle of the town like, well, that's none of my business.
Also, one of the party members goes, well, this is all open free land, right?
Yeah.
I can claim this.
Since everybody was murdered, what if we just cleaned it up a little bit and opened up a tavern? Welcome to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones. I'm Sav.
I'm Nix.
And I'm Graythorn.
And today's topic is... Atu. What's Atu? World events.
Ooh,
Living worlds.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that one. I like doing that kind of stuff. I started putting a little bit more time, like just kind of in the back burner of the Cobalt Buddy Cop game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I already have one world event that's going to be happening. I've already started putting it where like there's just a thing happening in the background. And like I'm kind of hoping that like you guys don't interact with it at all. Like it's just there.
That's the best part about world events.
Yeah, and like every once in a while maybe you'll catch,
You get a hint of it, and then you just keep on going and let it fester.
My biggest thing is like when it culminates. I don't know exactly how I want to time everything, but I think I do want to time around. Like I only planned it's a mini game or a mini campaign. I kind of want to time everything happening to be like the final thing happens when you guys are like done. You guys like back at like the back in your police station. You guys are resolving everything, and then you hear the thing happening in the background, and you're like, oh shit, that? I was like, Gabe, that's been happening the whole time. Whole time this thing has been going on. Fucking love you guys. Fucking see you. Good night. Bye.
And curtains. That's great.
I don't know why. I love things like that just for me.
No, I love things happening relatively in the background. I generally improv them, to be honest, like living world. I think of most things, I just do better with improv. I try not to boast too much about that because I don't want my players to feel like this isn't a well-prepped world.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I'll bring things to you guys and like, oh, this has been happening the whole time.
Yeah.
This was always going to happen. And I just made it up right now.
I had a whole in Lord's Fall. I don't remember if you guys caught it or not. I had a whole war happening in the background.
You mentioned it a few times.
Yeah. And it was essentially, I had a timeline of how the military was dealing with this conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it so at one point during the game, essentially they had won and they had captured this area, and I think it was like a farming, like agricultural area. And so there was like a huge drop in prices, and there was an influx of soldiers into one of the cities because they were coming back home. And it like changed like aspects of the economy, and it changed like aspects of things that you were like just happening in the background. And again, all just for me. It was just like, yes, it kind of affected some of your gameplay in that, like, I think one of the times where you guys were in town, there was like the soldiers were walking through the town. And I think that was like something that was happening.
God, I just thought of what would be a really cool event like that. Except it's like planned in a freeform campaign.
Yeah.
Where you just have a map, pre-established cities. It's established that there's a war going on at the border.
Yeah.
Y'all exist somewhere inland, right? So that you can't be privy to that right away. And just have like a counter, and it's like a session counter.
Yeah.
And like every 6 sessions or whatever, like a city gets taken out and is now in control over that. But like, I'm talking like extreme war. You don't want to be in those cities at the time. Not like, the city just changes guard. Like, it's like an extremely colonizing, oppressive force. And it's just like a time limit, not necessarily that ends the campaign, but it's just a time limit that changes the campaign to that significant of a degree, where it's like the like a Warzone PUBG map that just slowly gets smaller and smaller, the playable space within it, as you're desperately to have a fucking campaign before you are just sucked up into like, oh, this is just essentially a new world.
Oh, like your characters are going to be in the conflict. Like it's the borders around them.
Pre-established, the other nation wins.
Yeah.
And as they come through, extremely oppressive, as they come through, the nation that you live within just loses cities. And maybe at some point, your campaign, freeform campaign, so I don't need to interact with it, can be in a city that just gets sieged and then loses, and then it's just like super oppressive. There's like a curfew. It's really hard to do anything. Taxes for everybody are extremely high, and it's like just all of the reasons that you could ever think about of why a player party would want to leave a place that if they're not too invested in it anyways. And you might get that throughout the campaign before your players eventually start realizing all of the places they've left because of this, and that the map's getting smaller and smaller. And it's like, hey, this isn't supposed to end the campaign, but it's going to change drastically because eventually, like, you guys are clearly losing this war, and your playable map in terms of playing in the world that you entered into in the beginning of the campaign, the style of world, let's say classic fantasy, classic medieval, there's magic shops, there's blah, blah, blah. There's local guard, but they're not necessarily a threat. They could be an asset, unless you make them a threat if you're like a thief and get caught or whatever. Normal D&D fantasy, right? That world that you enter into, though, is changing to become this super gritty, oppressive world. And eventually the whole world will become that, as the playable space in the world just slowly gets smaller and smaller throughout the fucking campaign, like a circle shrinking in.
I was thinking, like, because as far as I know, like, as far as just my understanding generally of conflict between nations, it's usually not like an utter surrounding. Like, it's usually like a jackknife. Like, you know, there's like almost like the Blitzkrieg style, where it's kind of like in one direction, one line that cuts through to like the capital. And then like once you take the capital, depending on what's left of the government, blah, 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 blah. Like, so like that like PUBG circle smalling or circle shrinking thing.
Well, it might even get faster after they take the capital. All of a sudden it shrinks even faster.
I was like, in my mind, like my take on the idea is like, you're the area of the world that you're in isn't even really affected by a lot of the stuff that's happening. Maybe there's some supply stuff that happens, like slowly certain things start becoming more expensive.
Yeah.
But like all of a sudden there's just a guard change, like, because they reached the capital, they overtook it. Your kingdom has signed over. The king has knelt to the other king.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, through the towns and through a lot of the areas that your characters are going in, the flags change. The like empire's colors change. And it's like some cities are holdouts that don't quite go over. And then you have like troops that kind of go through the city. And let's say they're really oppressive. Let's say they don't like magic, the magic shop thing. There are just episodes and times where like there are guards of the other nation that come through and just destroy all of the magic shops.
And it's like predefined. So you could be like hanging out in the city and you're in the middle of a quest. Doesn't matter. This session, it was always determined the city is going to get blitzkrieged and sacked while you're trying to do stuff.
You can even have like the Ip Man moment where like the soldiers are going through and like somebody tries to like say something and they just kill them.
Yep.
They just go like somebody throws a rock at like, you know, it could be a kid even. Throws a rock at one of the whatever, and a guard just comes up and just
cuts him down.
Just cuts him down.
Yeah.
And just like walks away from it like nothing, just leaves the body on the ground. And it's like, yeah, you could make it so it's like, oh, your whole context of your whole game is different now.
Yeah. The context of your world is just drastically changing as the campaign goes on.
And guess what?
It has nothing to do with you. You are not affecting it. And like, how could you? What are you going to go fight a whole military?
I was going to say, also, you guys are level 6. So like, you could try to change things. You could try to help. You could try to join a
I
rebellion.
would never prevent you from stopping trying.
Oh, yeah. But like,
And it would impact things. I would allow you to save a city.
sure.
Oh my God. Allow them to save a city. And then they're like, this is going to be our home base now because we saved this one. And then like they save it from being sacked by like 100 soldiers or something like that. And then just like they hear a sound that sounds like thunder off in the distance and then caressing over the hill. It's like, oh, you remember that whole thing that you guys went through for like 4 months to save this city? Over 100 soldiers? You'd have to ballpark, but probably 10,000.
Or like if they
10,000 soldiers cresting the hill.
if they decide like
fun.
depending on the city, if they decide to like sit and defend it, it's like, oh yeah, the city's just going to be siege tactics. All your supply lines are cut off.
Yep. There just isn't food.
You get to live in the city for the next 2 weeks as you watch everyone around you starve to death.
Oh my God, that's so good. You could leave, and all it takes is kneeling and swearing fealty.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. All you have to do is come and stand in front of 10,000 soldiers, kneel, and swear your fealty to the new king. No? Stay in the city. When's the last time you guys ate? Well, you guys are going to need food. Try to find food. All right, well, you guys have an exhaustion point. It's looking bad.
How do you feel about world events, Gray?
All my games have spawned some sort of world event.
Yeah, because
Really?
you have a whole like your whole like idea with D&D and how you've treated games is like you just have a world that the characters live in.
Constant living world.
Yeah.
And then in my current world, they've played across 3 different years of it. So I think the first year was like the 16th year after peace, and then the second game was 17th year after peace, and then there was an 18th year after peace, and now we went back to 17, and now we're going back to 18. So there's like whenever my players decide to do something inadvertently, something innocuous at first that ends up snowballing into something kind of minorly cataclysmic for the locals.
Mm-hmm.
That's like an actual canon event that's happened somewhere.
Sure.
And so, like the first big one was my first campaign where they turned a little vine-like creature into what was like a Venom-esque symbiote, which then became an even bigger monster after feeding it too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then that collided with another creature. So that creature and the other creature had their own little faction-based war going on.
Sure.
So now there's just those 2 factions are out there somewhere. Right? And then that spawned my short story that I'm in the process of kind of trying to get back into writing, which is another world event that players could be a part of if they're ever in the area for whatever reason during that time period. And then I don't think my first intermission campaign really spawned anything, nor did the one where I revealed to them that they're all woodland creatures thinking they're people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll spawn anything, but my most recent intermission campaign, the Dynasty Warriors-esque throughout the Arrow game, they ended up half losing, which is supposed to either they lose and the fire elemental revives and comes back and tries to take his reign over the little peninsula, the little Asian peninsula down to the southeast, or they win and he's sealed away, but they half lose. So the guy trying to bring him back just becomes like the intermediate fire lord guy.
It becomes like an avatar of it or something.
More or less. And so because my players had characters in that same era, I'm like, okay, so that happens. All right. Now I'm talking to who was I talking to? I'm talking to Isolta. Yes, Isolta. No, not your current character that just died. No, I'm talking to the character from our last campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You hear an explosion happen off in the distance, and there's just rumblings, and you don't think much about it. And 2 weeks later, you start hearing word in town that the great seal of Motoben has set itself aflame, and the Fire Lord is being resurrected. I'm like, Good job, guys. Yeah, you did it.
I love the idea of taking that what you didn't see thing and putting it onto a character from another campaign. I love that concept.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I think it's one of the like a rare thing that you can do because again, your group that you're playing with is playing
reoccurring players
in the same
world, and based off what you said earlier, they get to pick like it's not just always progressively forward. It's like kind of like back and forth a little bit in like your years because you said like 15, 18, then 16 again. So like you will allow them to kind of flip back and forth. Do you ever go like far back in the past or like in the future? Like do you, because your little cluster was like within like 5 or 6 years.
I kind of want to go a little further back to before 0. To like when like the there's the southern nation of like humans and demi-humans, and there's the northern nation of monstrous creatures. I kind of want to go to a point after that where it's just like, okay, so the north no longer is gonna try and come kill us. Now we're just people, but now we got politics problems.
Sure.
I kind of want to go into a game like that where the Westerners discover divine magic, and then they also at the same time figure out that they could use that to fight against people who are developing sorcerer, magi powers and
the
Inquisitions and all that. So I'm thinking like, maybe I can make a game somewhere around there where everyone's a wizard and they're being hunted, or they're clerics and paladins doing the hunting. That might be fun. Yeah. I do want to do one of those, but I kind of want to keep it within like that range of like 12 to 20 in that time frame, because that's where more interesting. Yeah, that's where the more interesting things I think happen that aren't just like, hey, people, there's a big old war and there's not a lot of interest outside of that war because everyone's focusing their abilities on that.
Yeah. I think I had this like my ultimate, or like my idea of running a game of the next time I get the chance to run a game for our table outside of the buddy cop thing was I wanted to do like trying to do that real living world situation where I wanted to go from the myth, like the creation myth of the world, and from that point just kind of like almost random roll events that happen and just kick forward in time, have a couple random rolled events that happen, and then like throw dice on the map, like make a little quick map, throw dice on the map of where certain civilizations pop up, and then have those civilizations build up. Where would their resources be? Where they like clamor, where they start going, and then like in their conflict, random roll like, oh, do they ally? Do they battle? Do they blah, blah, blah. So I have this like this living world that's a little bit of random rolling, and just keep doing that. Just keep pushing forward in time. Do like 1,000 years of history of this world and different events and all these lost civilizations where they get like, are there going to be ruins in mountains? Like all this shit. And then being able to just on this continent, have my players go, look at the map. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my favorite ways to start a game is that as far as like world events, when we played G&G, I decided where everybody, the bad guys were.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put it on to you guys only that you're coming up on this road in the world map.
Yeah.
Other than that, where are you guys going? You guys could have gone all the way north to Denver if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
The whole campaign could have been a wildly different campaign because you decided to trek all the way up.
No, we went to like the first city that was in...
You went in between two cities and then decided to explore one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just spawned the whole campaign. Also, of the cities that surrounded you, because there are multiple, like you definitely chose by happenstance a safe city. Like it was such luck that your guys' first chapter was so easy because you could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And depending on where you go, it could have been straight into the fray. It could have been you running up against the 103rd immediately. And that just like, boom, kickstarting the campaign. No prep, no build up. You're just in the fight, low level fucking characters, very little ammunition and shit.
I think at least in my mind, that was part of the decision making, not knowing that it was a safe city, but like the whole idea was we're charging into this city that we know is like controlled by this opposing gang, that like our whole mission statement was we're dealing with this opposing gang.
Yeah.
We're essentially starting a war.
Yeah.
We're reigniting this past war with this old gang. And it's like, I didn't want to go too deep into that world, too deep into that map, because in my mind, if we go to the heart of the map, we go like
you might be surrounded.
Yeah, we're going to be surrounded. Our best bet would have been hoping to like almost back ally against the current residing like marshals and police and police and sheriff system by going all the way to Denver. Like, by going all the way to probably the most civilized and most populous area of the world, that would be like my other option would be we can go there and potentially have the sheriff behind our back.
Well, even if you go there, you are 1 in 100,000 people.
Sure.
So like, even if the bad guys exist there, would they see you?
Oh yeah, of course.
So there's safety in numbers in that way of being able to blend in and whatnot.
Yeah. I think to me, in my mind, those are like the two options: be at the edge, or go to the fucking center, and then try to figure out from there how you're.
But just in terms of world events, though, I designed the world. I decided what each city was like, what was going on in the city. And then as far as bigger events.
Sure.
And then where all of the baddies were. And then I just go. And you guys interacted with whatever you interacted with.
Oh, you were talking about earlier when you talked about a clock. I wonder, I still got to find my document, or I got to show you my document for Lord's Fall. I had that. I had a clock. I had a clock running.
That's a common thing that people do.
For like the different events. It depended on session time and depending on like your guys' travel time. I literally would have certain events would be, this is going to take 60 days to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you guys did a lot of traveling.
I had that, though I kind of lost track of it with G&G, of movements.
Yeah.
When, like, if there was a territory, okay, a great example that wouldn't be spoiling anything, just in case we ever pick it up. Big Gus being in Mombros.
Sure.
And then, being in Big Junction, and then a contingent of his part of the gang being in Mombros, where he was by happenstance of where you guys got to in the campaign was based on a calendar. I didn't have a clock. I had a calendar.
Sure.
Of, with no interruptions, where would people be?
Mm.
And it just by happenstance, yeah. Big Gus was not in Mombros when you guys got there. Thank fuck.
Yeah. Also, just to clue in the audience, yes, you did hear Denver earlier.
Denver.
And you also heard Mombros. Because
Big Junction instead of Grand Junction.
Yeah.
What's that?
Bellaride.
Bellaride. Yes, that was we were in Colorado.
When you're taking pre-established places and you want to make them into fantasy, all you have to do is change letters or add the letter B somewhere.
Specifically the
B.
letter B.
It has to be the letter B.
It has to be letter B.
Yeah.
So just take that as fact. Anybody who's listening, especially if you're a DM.
Nebraska.
Yeah. You just take anything. You take LA. You just throw a B in there, and you're in fantasy world now.
Yeah, Los Angeles. Yeah.
Gotta make my way to California way.
I think it was California on the world map. New Mexico.
Tebas.
Tennessee. That was genuinely my level of creative as far as the world map went.
Yeah, I mean, I had world events that we were talking about a little bit before we were recording, where like I definitely would lay threads for my party to go and and find and to be potentially interact with these world events that I was having.
Yeah.
I had like a whole returning of like a long lost Fey King civilization where like this was really old ancient ruler ruled for like thousands of years and then was overthrown by the current peoples that are, you know, that rule the land. So like a mixed nation of, you know, humans and demi-humans and even other fey creatures that long ago overthrew this king. And then, of course, their own internal conflicts separated them out into their own different lands or whatever. But he was like resurrecting. He had a whole thing.
It was like a Knights of the Round Table thing, right?
Yes, it was
inspired by.
Yeah, it was inspired by Knights of the Round Table. The whole idea of separate knights that all were linked to their unique swords. Their swords were the keys to their resurrections. Once they were all resurrected, they essentially could resurrect the king. So it was this whole like thing. And part of it was kicked off by things that you guys were doing, that you guys did in the world. And so I try to kind of like thread you into it, or like not thread you guys into it, leave the thread out there for you guys to pull. Yeah. But my table was having none of it. You guys were like, that's cool. We're going to go over here now. And I was like, it would have been cool to have you guys.
It eventually came up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I forced it to happen. I had you guys I had them try to fight you.
That's why I don't. That's to a degree. That's why I don't bother. If I want something to happen, I'm just going to make it happen. And now there's a world event, and it's been happening the whole time.
Well, the thing is,
improv.
Yeah, if there's nothing to clue you in to the thing happening, how can I like get you guys to do it? The way I initially thought about doing it was like, oh, I'm going to have you guys fight a weird thing. And the weird thing is going to be like, oh, if you pull this thread, this is the thing that you could go to.
Totally.
So it's quote unquote forcing, but it was just like you guys were an enemy to to one of the knights. Yeah. And then the knights try to fight you. And then you're like, oh, we're just not going down this rabbit hole. We're going to go do this other thing. And then it was like, though I did it much more subtly later on, where I just had like town criers and I had like news that were around that like things were happening up north. There were just events that were going on, and whether or not you guys wanted to pursue it was completely up to you. Because at that point, I had completely given up on the idea that my players were going to do anything that like I was suggesting. Yeah, like me as a DM, like, hey, here's a bunch of threads you can follow. Knowing my players go, those are cool threads. I'm going to go over here.
I think, but you also cursed my character so that whenever they came into contact with like natural ground, they felt someone watching them.
Yeah. Yes, I did something like that.
That was a pretty long thread. Although all we did about that was remove the curse.
Yeah. We went and killed him.
Yeah. Well, there was.
How did we find him?
There was like,
we've been to that town before. That was the town where we killed the hag for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I guess we heard news that something happened up there. It's like, you know what? Might also just sail our boat out there and see what's going on. Yeah. And then we did. And then they're like, wow, this place is real fucked up. It's not our fault.
We had nothing to do with it.
but there's a nuisance here, and we're gonna squish it like a bug.
It's so funny that the worst thing we ever did to that world was the one good deed we tried to do.
And true always sunny in Philadelphia fashion.
Yeah.
We tried to do something good, and it being the worst thing possible.
Yes, I mean that was one of the things that I liked is like when I wrote that little story for you guys to interact with. It was like, yeah, here's a thing that from the outside in looks like it's the right thing to do. It's kind of like one of the things that you talked about before.
I love that because like it bugs me a little bit when I have players that are like, that's a thing that's obvious. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, you should know this by now. I write nuance into everything. Yeah. Like you're never going to find like in one of, not never, that's too boastful, but very often you're not going to find like, there's a monster and it's attacking a farm and you just got to kill the monster. Like No, there's a monster and attacking a farm, and if you follow the threads, you'll find that it is starving. Why is it starving? Because this event happened over in its natural territory, and that's driven it over here. Well, what happened in its natural territory? Oh, all of the fauna,
flora.
all of the plant life is dead in this area, just blackened. What's going on with this? And then like it just leads into like it's never just going to be on the surface area upon hearing a quest that it's this super surface thing. So when we try and do a good deed and it seems like we're doing a good deed and it turns out to be the worst thing that we could have done, to me that's like, oh, that's awesome. It's fucked. It's fucked, and my player probably is going to have nightmares about it, but it's awesome. It's cool writing.
Oh, I mean, for me, it's like I made it so you almost like basic D&D. Also, this is like the first campaign that like you were playing. It's like I made it so like you had to deal with it because it was a kid sacrifice plot.
Well, we didn't have to deal with it. We could just leave. We did just leave the first time.
Sure. I'm just like the whole thing was they were sacrificing a kid every, I forgot how long, to a hag.
Whatever, yeah.
And it was like, oh,
obvious answer, kill the hag.
Kill the hag. We got to deal with this thing because we don't want a kid dying every so often. I think it was also based off of like either an SCP story or some horror story of like something, whatever, like kids were losing like eyes or something, or like,
sure.
I'm not even sure if she fully killed the kids. I don't really remember.
I don't think, no, because they took
something from
them. Yeah,
because
there were
like
disfigured kids in the town.
Yes, yeah. It wasn't full death. She was taking something from them.
Yeah.
So you guys killed the hag, and then it was, of course, this is like all fae creatures, and I was like, I want to put like a fae fairy tale of the world, which is this hag was in love with this other thing, and the other thing was this knight who was one of the last surviving knights of this round table thing.
Yeah.
From fucking way back. The only thing that was keeping him from not just like, I guess I got to bring my kings and my brothers back, was like, I'm getting this nice fucking hag puss over here, so let me. Let me go to town on this.
I do love that, like, we genuinely tried to do a nice thing. We risked life and limb to fight the hag. We killed the hag. We spent our own.
You guys lost an ally.
Yep.
One of the party members died.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Ace's character,
Ace's character died.
We spent our own money.
We gave them a
very
ring.
expensive ring.
Oh yeah,
of plant growth.
Yeah, because the hag was fertilizing the area.
That was the exchange that they had with the hag.
Yeah.
So we solved that problem for them via our own money voluntarily, and it was like this really great thing that we did. And then we found out that our actions had our good deed actions had negative consequences, but we were such a backstabbing horrible group of people that we found out like everybody that we tried to save and gave up so much for, every single one of them died probably a horrendous death, and all of us were just like standing in the middle of the town like, well, that's none of my business.
Also, one of the party members goes, well, this is all open free land, right?
Yeah.
I can claim this.
Since everybody was murdered, what if we just cleaned it up a little bit and opened up a tavern? This is actually our city now.
Actually, I could claim all this, right? This is just mine.
Dibs. That's how this works, right? Dibs.
That's how land in an empire works. You just go, oh, dibs. This is mine now.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to go to the loot table?
I was thinking about how to segue from that into the loot table, and then I was just gonna go, you know who has dibs over?
You had like a silent moment. You looked at me, and I was like, "Is this loot table moment?"
You know the loot table sponsors.
Let's go and roll. On the
We're really good at this, you know.
Let's go and see who our sponsors will be.
Who on this roll? I wonder.
Yeah, this is gonna be a great.
In our long list of sponsors,
the huge list.
Better bust out the D100 on this one. I wonder who our sponsor's gonna be. It's definitely a long list. It's definitely not a fudged roll. It's a 2. Who could 2 be?
2. You mean 1? You mean the 1?
The 1.
Just 1, right?
Oh, sorry, it was a 1.
Yeah.
I forgot to roll a disadvantage. Hold on. It's a 1.
That would be message marble.
Of course.
Imagine this. You're walking through the halls of a dusty old dungeon and your party leader decides to send only you, the brave yet mundane fighter, to investigate one of the many winding halls yet to be mapped out. You turn a corner and come face to face with one of many ravenous beasts who've made this labyrinth its home. You take your sword in one hand, your shield in the other, and brace for battle as you call out to your party, and your voice echoes through the halls, unheard and unanswered. Now, you have a sending stone somewhere on you, but you gotta drop your sword or unstrap your shield, and then you gotta root through your bag and pick up this big clunky piece of junk you brought from some sketchy turtle who sold you a bread ring when he could have asked for a ring of bullets to cannonballs. It's times like this you realize you should have bought yourself a message marble instead. Message marble is a communication device of champions, finely crafted from the ethically sourced cerebral pearls found in the cranial cavities of various illithid aberrations, and enchanted by masters of the circle of transmutation to fit snugly in your ear and stay put even through the fiercest of battles. Just set your activation command word and start sending your messages with the flick of your tongue. No more worrying about carefully thought out plans going belly up at the last second just because you can't get a word out to your party. Get yourself a message marble today, because when wielding two swords is key, your access to instant communication should be hands-free.
It's pretty wonderful.
That was good.
The thing is, I'll be honest, it took me a long time to get on board with message marble. I was a mind marble kind of guy, right?
Okay.
And then I heard that mind marbles are made in wizard towers where the working conditions are so poor that people jump
awful.
from the towers
Yeah, they have
to
to put
not
nets
have
up.
to work there, and they had to put nets up. And then I
Yeah.
was like, well, what's this message marble thing?
I mean, for me, that's part of the big sell is the ethical nature of the harvest from these illithid creatures. It's just, you can feel bad for these creatures, but their whole life cycle is eating brains of like other creatures.
It's true.
And absorbing. So like there is a little bit of like, it's still a living creature. It still has a level of intelligence, but also if you fuck up around it, it's going to eat your brain or it's going to take over your brain. Is that they do stuff like eat brains. Yeah.
What are these creatures called?
Illithids, mind flayers.
Illithids, okay.
Yeah. It's based on, is that based off of the thing in Lord's Fall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you not get all the Lord's Fall references?
Yeah.
There were so many.
Yeah.
There were so many.
I just checking. I loved it.
Get a message marble and send us a message today.
Fine, I got nothing.
You fucking loser. So I generally, at this point, like I do most things, improv my world events, and oftentimes they're a lot smaller. I don't generally do very large epic things happening in general. I like very grounded feeling D&D campaigns.
Sure.
Where like the thing that you're dealing with on the street is dire and whatnot. You know what I mean? I'm much like Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man drama than I do the greater universe and Thor and all of the different worlds and aliens and shit like that. It loses me. So I generally improv things and they're smaller. And I was actually thinking about one. I didn't think of it as a world event, but it kind of became a world event where I had written an encounter, but the encounter was a group that lives out in the wilds in this area that my players happen to be traveling through, which I kind of just, again, improved. And they exist, and they're all masked up, and they're called Winter's Teeth.
Sure.
Because it's in the snow, right? And that's really all I wrote. And then they traveled through. The thing that I wrote was, like the very small hook, was that they hunt the oppressive occupying force in this part of the world. There's like an oppressive force that occupies all of the cities and whatnot, military style.
Sure.
They hunt them in between cities. So like it's just this rogue group of people or whatever. So the encounter that I wrote was, if they roll high enough on perception checks, they will realize that there's an ambush, that they're surrounded, and they happen to roll high enough. And then they have to essentially, and did, negotiate their way out of it, because it would have been a deadly fight. But also, these people aren't here for you.
Yeah.
It's an ambush, but they're not here for you. So, and then I just improv'd my way through the whole fucking dialogue and them negotiating and whatnot, and then they left. Recently, in a nearby city that they've come to call home, they were invited to a council meeting, which is the government, and I didn't want to just give them the one thing that mattered to them, so I just kind of sat there and improv'd bullshit city issues.
Sure.
And one of them was concern over the group known as Winter's Teeth doing various attacks throughout the north and blah, blah, blah. And one of the council members was worried about that, which was just an improv moment. But all of a sudden, this group that they random encountered with that did not bear any ill will or put any harm to them. It was a very tense encounter. But all of a sudden, that's become a world event where it's like, oh yeah, they're out there killing guards of the coast, left and right. I also didn't explain it. I just said that there were attacks and that the council members of this city, who are not guards of the coast, the council members of the city didn't seem very concerned about it, but I didn't tell them why.
Yeah.
I had one of my players who was in the negotiations make a history check. He failed. So I didn't tell him why. I just told him there are Winter's Teeth attacks happening between the towns in the north, and there's been like an uptick of these attacks, which has kind of become a world event. They could interact with that if they wanted to. These attacks are now canon. They are happening. I hadn't, 3 seconds prior, I haven't thought about Winter's Teeth in months.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, oh, I need to say something in this space of time. I'm just going to start talking. Oh, here's a thing I could talk about. I'll bring these guys up again. What are they doing? Oh, a lot? Is that what my mouth did? Okay. I guess they're doing a lot. I guess that's a world event. There's just a lot of this like rogue outfit tribe going around killing all these guards of the coast in between cities now.
That's funny.
Canon, world event.
I mean, I like having a lot of layers in the same vein where like
I do too. I just like making them up on the spot.
Yeah, for me we've had this conversation before where you are way more comfortable doing the improv stuff. I just like sitting down and like writing the layers.
Yeah,
and it's just different styles of how we personally like to our comfort zones with writing. Like, so in the Lord's Fall campaign, the two big lords that you dealt with was Rainier and Gimli.
Yeah.
Rainier was the first session. He was the one that you guys stole from. You stole a bunch of shit from him.
Yeah.
Gimli was the second the second session where everything fell apart, where you guys attacked his caravan that he was sending out. Part of the world events that I was writing is Gimli was a secret traitor. So he was escorting this princess of this rebellion that was starting up, that was attacking the Empire. Yeah. The Empire itself was in that war that I was telling you about, where they were attacking something else. Rainier was very dug into the actual military of the Empire. His family was involved in supporting the Empire. So his wealth and everything, his family came from that. And I think the third or fourth mission you guys did, you guys rescued people that were kidnapped.
Yeah.
That's how you got the caravan that you had that had the like spells on it that made it so that we could do like a Westward March style thing through a cart that had like a silence and darkness spell on it. You rescued a kid from there, who the kid was also the son of this other lord that you guys had met.
Yeah.
Well, in that town, there was a election happening for a triumvirate. That's how they ruled themselves. The the lady was one of the people that was potentially going to get elected to that city council area. If you guys stayed long enough in that city, she would have been elected. You would have had her as a favorable like person to reach out to get resources. Also, Fancy Pants, Lucky in G&G, same person. He was trying to get a job with Rainier randomly. He was like, I want to work for Rainier. He did it by like setting up weird meat puppets in the forest.
It made no sense.
I don't know why this was the goal, but it was dead people, right? He like
bandits.
He strung up bandits.
Yeah.
The thing is, Rainier and his family, essentially warlords. That's how Rainier was like, I'm into this. Like, yeah, somebody's willing to kill the wrongdoers.
He made strange meat totems and like they left like a message on a plaque.
Yeah.
For his like
I love
prosperity.
when players really think something through and go out on a limb to do something above and beyond, and it unbeknownst to them, because they always expect roadblocks from the DM.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to them, like, oh no, that was great. It was well thought out.
Yeah.
It was the right thing to do, and it feels so good for them to get that achievement. But I also enjoy when players do something absolutely fucking stupid, and it just so happens to perfectly align with
That's what was happening.
Would work in a weird way where it's like, well, how would Rainier respond? Actually, I think he would be really into this, actually.
Rainier loved it, but there was no clues as to who left it.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, this person left this for me? Cool. And so, like, also, Rainier's personality was just a little off-putting. Personally, I wanted to do that because Rainier would have been a great ally for what you guys were doing, because knowing Gimli became known as a traitor and he was on the run.
Yeah.
Rainier is a devout loyalist to the Empire because of his warlord past.
Kill them both.
Traitors, loyalists. You know what? Bang, bang.
If you guys had allied with Rainier, he would have thrown resources at you guys.
That's so funny.
He would have just been
We
like,
need resources. We needed spell slots and time.
That was genuinely our goal. Let's do stupid stuff until we level up.
Spell
enough.
slots, time, and corpses. We didn't get any of the corpses. We had all the spell slots and we didn't have any time.
you guys were ready to get the corpses. You guys were getting the
We
carts.
sent someone to get corpses, didn't
Yeah,
we?
you
Yeah,
did.
and
You
he-
hired people
he-
to get corpses.
He bitched out.
Oh yeah, I forgot what it was.
We just hired a guy to like, you know what? We need bodies. So go
Yeah,
out there and
yeah.
kill bandits and just bring them to us at this warehouse.
I think he collected a little bit, but I think he grave robbed.
He didn't do anything.
No,
We didn't get any bodies from him.
really, I don't remember what the reason was. I
So,
didn't do that.
I think at that point, I'm like, you know what? We're just going to have to make our own corpses.
Yeah.
If you gotta do it yourself, you gotta do it yourself.
And even that, the whole you guys doing geshing and a corpse army and terrorist activities in that town, that kicked off how you guys got Gimli, because again, the general
Doing something dumb that gets you the answer. Yeah.
the general world event
The most
is
disappointing answer we could have had.
I know we really got excited about all of our hits and attacks and whatnot, and then before we could do any of them, they just gave us the bad guy, the big bad. That was our big bad fight where they were like, "Here,
because
take this commoner with commoner stats."
Yeah.
Take him.
Who Gimli had allied with, him being treacherous to, that group was guising themselves and was acting as a thieves guild.
Yeah.
And they were just a smaller thieves guild in this town where the largest thieves guild was also a part of. So all of these attacks all being centered around this particular person who was being hid by this group, the larger thieves guild, the Shattered, I believe is what I called them, was like, hey, fix this. You're causing problems in the city. You're bringing attention to things that don't need to bring attention. Like, deal with this problem or we will. And so, like, they tried to deal with it, and you guys were really strong and powerful. And so, like, yeah, I threw something too light at you, but also that was a little bit of the purpose of it.
Yeah.
The whole campaign was like, hey, you guys are really strong and powerful in this world. What are you guys doing? Oh, chaos.
Being horrible, yeah.
Hey, you guys are being evil monsters in this world. Cool.
Being the best at being bad.
That's kind of how my Saturday campaign, why it works so well. They're not bad. They're not evil, but they're so chaotic that just putting myself in the head of the bad guys, it's like, I don't think they'd be able to follow what these guys are doing. They have no idea. They're clearly not military. They're clearly not local guard. They're clearly not like some type of police or anything like that. Like, I don't know who these fucking guys are. Also, like, I don't know what they're doing. Why were they in this place? Why did they do this thing? And now they're over here doing this thing. Those things seem unconnected. It's like how you would write an otherworldly creature where you're intentionally trying to write something that can't be understood. So it's like, this town over here gets genocided, and then this town over here, just for no reason, their crops are magically, blossoming for no reason at all. And it's like, I don't understand what this creature's doing. And that creates that feeling of like mystery behind an otherworldly creature that you can't understand. In my baddies' heads, in my Saturday campaign, I don't think he could put two and two together of what these people are doing or why. They're getting away with it because of the chaos.
Yeah.
They're continuing their anonymity because of the chaos.
Yeah, I think in Lord's Fall, you guys were completely found out by the Empire. The Empire knew who you guys were, where you guys, who your allies were, and even the tavern that Fancy Pants had opened up. Part of when you guys returned, or I think you guys never returned to it at the time I sent it, but part of the gift from the Empire when you came back to your tavern after capturing Gimli, again, known traitor to the crown, all that stuff, was you were going to have essentially the land that the tavern was on, your ownership was going to be expanded, and you were going to have workers that were just there to just start building up the tavern in however Fancy Pants saw fit. And it was just going to be a letter thank you, like signed by, I forgot the name of it, but like essentially the Secret Service of the Empire. So it's like part of it would be a little bit of the thread to you guys to, if you guys wanted to go, would be like, oh, what is this? Potentially, let's go find out more information about it.
Yeah.
But also it's like, a little bit of like, hey, there's bigger things in this world. There's like, you guys are dealing with this stuff.
I love show of force things when like you could be sitting there struggling to buy a tavern, and then like you make friends with someone.
Yeah.
Or even better, you make enemies with someone. And then you just show up to the tavern that you're trying to build one day, and it's like complete, and the permits are in your name, and it's just all done, and it's signed by the bad guy. And it's like, oh fuck, these guys are rough. That's power, that's authority.
It was a little bit like, not quite the same, but like I love the moment when you guys were like, one of the last things when you guys were getting your teleportation circle, you guys were to go like, oh, here's this wizard. It's a neutral wizard out in this area of the world. He has a tower. You guys were going to go, let's go talk to him because he would have a teleportation, whatever. Like this is whatever, your investigations, you guys finding out. You guys going to him. And one of you had like you could see into the ethereal plane or something like that. And like once one of you guys did, you see like his guard, like
oh yeah, I remember that.
Like the beast, the dragons and beasts that he had protecting
like
him.
Celestials just flying around in the celestial plane mirrored to this plane.
Just waiting and being like unseen guards circling his tower, and it's like, yeah, man, there's shit in this world that's fucking crazy. Yeah, and like
there was also another world event that I remember from Lord's Fall that I helped you create. And it was a world event exclusively for Captain Fancy Pants.
Oh, yeah.
Of just a string of assassins that were on a timer for them trying to seek out Fancy Pants and kill Fancy Pants for no reason.
Oh, unsuccessfully tried to kill him.
Because part of it.
Such a low level. They were.
One for each time Captain Fancy Pants called my tabaxi kitty.
Is that? I don't remember that.
No, but it could have been.
I mean, that was fun. That was fun to have like you just being like, hey, also, because we did that whole like
Yeah.
You wanted to keep the story of this side character, Milgaia, going.
Yeah.
And so I was like, cool, let's do this stuff that he's doing. And as we were having that conversation, you're like, hey, also, I want to do this thing.
Yeah. Also, I would like to find a low-level assassin, damn near commoner stats. And I want to pay them very well. And I want to do this unlinked to me. So have someone else hire them and pay them to do this thing, giving them the exact whereabouts of Captain Fancy Pants. Kill him.
Again, that campaign kind of fizzled out. We were also already in the prologue of that game.
Yeah.
But like, I think I've said it before, but like, that whole return trip to the tavern, there were at least 2 assassins already waiting.
Oh, we did a session in the tavern, and they were there, but Fancy Pants wasn't there.
Fancy Pants was not there, but the assassin was in the tavern.
Yeah.
And I believe the third one was on the way.
My end goals for Milgaia was to buy a tavern next door to Fancy Pants' tavern, get a wizard who could do a teleportation circle, so I could just continue the flow more directly of assassins to Fancy Pants.
I like to imagine that if that campaign continued and like that just kept happening, it'd be like one of those sitcom fixtures when somebody shows up.
Yeah,
and you got like the audience clapping like when Kramer kicks in the door or when Norm shows up.
Not again. Wah, wah, wah.
World event.
Oh man, you splattered them everywhere. Now I gotta clean this up. I'm sorry. Wah, wah,
Wah, wah, wah.
that'd be so stupid.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
I think we're all very tired.
I was about to say if Gray had anything else, but
not all world events should come from the DM just deciding there's a world event. I think a lot, I guess, well.
Oh, like the world reacting?
Yeah, the world reacting to what your player's doing
Totally.
is sometimes the most fun kind of world event.
Yeah.
You know, that's why there's 2 big demons that kind of just cause a lot of problems in my world for a lot of lowborn people. It's because my players decided, hey, what if I just kept using this monster on my arm to save my life?
Mm-hmm.
And now there's just a big old demon walking around with a bunch of weird, creepy elves with pitch black eyes that have behaviors like dogs. And they're just going around terrorizing people, cannibalizing them.
Yep.
Yeah. Wouldn't have happened if it weren't for my players.
yeah.
Oh, I totally agree.
I didn't write that. I didn't write that at all. That's just a reaction to what they've done.
You wrote the reaction, essentially.
I wrote the reaction. I just never planned for it to go that far.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. I hope they don't listen to this because a lot of what I talk about are spoilers, but my players went into the Shadowfell, met a vampiric lord, a vampiric prince, who was like show of force, way more powerful than them. They wanted the players to go and basically find a way back to the material plane. It was just one thread of an excuse back to the material plane. He was clearly evil and bad. He wants to spread his domain into the material plane. But he's also very powerful. Also, he has a way of tracking them that they don't know about. So they go to do this mission. Instead, they meet another powerful entity. This one they could kill, though. A powerful druid. And not befriend, but at least, whatever. They accept that this one isn't bad, right? And decide to betray the vampiric prince and Nihilus Hound Matron. They decide to befriend that one and do the mission that she wants, which also gets them back to the material plane. And they go back to the material plane. This was like 8 or 9 months ago. There's an assassin from that prince that they betrayed who's been following them this whole time, or trying to get to them this whole time, because they had to figure out a way to get to the material plane first, trying to get to the whole time. It's gonna happen. Eventually, this dude's gonna show up, and I can tell you kind of how it's gonna happen, is this dude's gonna show up, and he's gonna be like, hey, Not cool that you betrayed my prince. I've been sent here to kill you. I'm the only one that was sent. So whether I succeed or not, this is your punishment. Also, here's how I got there. And he's going to throw the druid's head on the floor in front of them. Turns out you're not supposed to betray vampiric lords.
It's a good story.
A fun world event. Not mine. It's Koibu. Got to mention him every once in a while.
You gotta
Love the guy.
every recording.
Yeah, he has in one of his, I think he established some sort of portal in one of his single player campaigns. I think the Dicing with Death with Georg.
Sure.
And then in another game, Hardcore Heroes, the players find that portal and they explore it, and it goes to like the shadow realm. It's,
Sure.
It's like his version of the Shadow Realm. It's like a combination of the Shadowfell with like hell from Forgotten Realms, and then like StarCraft Zerg like monsters.
Okay.
They go and they do stuff in there, and they leave. Thing is, they never close the door.
Yeah.
So when they come back to their home, like 2 or 3 months later, it's all overrun.
Oh.
So then the entire eastern side of that continent is just completely overrun by demons, and has been like a driving force for different campaigns in his like little universe.
Oh, that's funny.
It's one of my favorite things to do as a DM. Always, and I do it all as much as I possibly can. I do it in the most mundane ways, just so that it's well established and it's not an obvious like, oh, make a check and then there's meta information. I love asking players if they closed the door or not. They'll be like, oh, like this mundane cabin that has nothing to do with anything at all, and we're leaving for our adventure for the day. Okay, Nix, would you have closed the door to your cabin?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Moving on. And then like it just allows for later where you ask that question and we'll be like, nah, I think I'm in a hurry. And then it's like, ooh, you should have closed that door.
I like doing that where you give the player the opportunity to kind of answer, especially if it's something that like for the most part seems like a basic thing. Because it's like a lot of times, again, it's like you don't ask your players, did you wipe your ass when you took a shit? Like,
Yeah.
did you even take a shit? Like,
But if you had a monster coming out of the toilet, you might want to. But if it's the one time you ask them if they wipe their ass, then it's too obvious.
yeah. It's just one of those things where like, if you capitalize on your players not saying a particular thing, it's like, oh, you didn't say that. It's like, well, it
feels
felt
like a fuck
obvious.
you.
Yeah, it felt
Yeah.
obvious enough that like my character would have been. It's like when players talk in a tavern, and like, hey, dude, do you like? I get it. You're in your head, and we don't have a full picture of what's going on. But like, you're speaking out loud about secrets, and the whole tavern can hear you. It's like, well, I would have been whispering.
Yeah.
It's like I would have known that I'm surrounded by people, and it's like, okay, yeah, of course you would, because that is like
Sometimes it's like, hey, you're in a hotel lobby that's like a 10 by 10 room, like literally the size of this garage. There's 5 of you, and you're talking to each other openly about these things. There is a clerk in this lobby that's been pre-established.
yeah.
So like before you guys get too far in this conversation, like, you know there's a guy in here, right?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
And then world event, fucking meteor.
Honestly, it's one of those things that wouldn't bother me as a player, but I am careful about it with other players. Like if I did that, if I was like in a lobby or whatever, there's also just like allowing your DM the freedom to have a different perspective than you. If you're like, oh yeah, but remember when you guys were talking about that thing in the lobby? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, yep. The lobby clerk was in there the whole time, and that was established before you started that conversation. And I get a lot of player responses of like, well, we would have gone outside. And it's like, but we had a whole narrative painting images. You guys were like eating the food in the lobby. So like you didn't.
Yeah.
There's no would have. You didn't go outside. Or they'll be like, well, we would have talked quietly. And it's like, bro, 10 by 10 room, you can't talk quietly enough.
Yeah, that is definitely the like, hey, there's another. That's where I would let the players kind of like not fall on their face, but I have I understand where if the DM takes advantage of that, because it's like, yeah, if you're in a 10 by 10 foot room, there's a guy there. It's like
it's quiet,
and like it's relatively quiet, and you're like, yeah, but we'd be quietly talking to each other. It's like, okay, you're quietly talking to each other. It's like, that guy's still hearing you.
Yeah.
That's the thing about like, even in public where I've been with people where like, we're talking at like
We've
a
talked
park.
about that on the podcast before. Yeah. Where you're like, I could, if you pay attention, you could hear everybody.
Yeah. Like you said something and that person turned around. They're 30 feet away from you. Like you're talking to me and like, dog, your voice is carrying.
And in this case, clearly, we're talking about a spy.
Yeah.
We're not even just talking about some random Joe. We're talking about someone who listens to your conversation and ratted on you.
Yeah.
This is someone that intentionally would be trying
trying to
listen to your
Yeah.
conversation. So the fact that you had this conversation quietly in a 10 by 10 room that's also quiet, and he's less than 10 feet away from you. Unless you're like hugging the corner and he's hugging the other corner, he has to be less than 10 feet away from you. No, you're not having this conversation quietly. But if that happened to me, if me and Gray got caught up like that, I would have been like, I would just look at you and I'd be like, damn,
Yeah.
didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, well, we would have been outside.
Yeah, sure.
We
shoot
would
the
have gone
clerk.
to our room. I would have said something quietly. I would have done it telepathically. So you didn't, though.
Yeah,
You know, if that happened to me, I would just be like, damn.
Like, damn, you got me.
And those create my favorite world events.
In that
the
situation,
party's
I did
faces
not
on
think
wanted
we had
posters.
Oh yeah. Oh, I couldn't wait for it to happen in G&G because that's almost irreversible in G&G.
Oh, dude, I was so cautious about it.
Oh, I know.
I made sure I would tell it whenever we were planning things. It'd be like, hey, I don't want my fucking face on posters.
Yeah.
Like, this is the last thing that I want.
Well, there was also just emphasis of like,
Shows up in his signature poncho.
yeah.
Well, I have to.
There was also just
Saying my
instances
name everywhere.
where you guys went to a town, and this was a way more unlawful town. And when you went to go check for posters, you found like flyers that are hung up on telephone poles where it's just like, oh, posters on posters on posters. But like some of the posters that were hanging up were like so old that they were deteriorating. And it's like, yeah, when you get your face on a poster in this world, it fucking stays on that poster.
Yeah.
You got to be very careful with the law in this world. It could be a problem.
Yeah.
You did good, though. You guys never got on the posters.
Yeah. Again, it's. I think a lot of our characters were very wary about that.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
we
yeah.
knew that it was like, again, an irreversible thing that was just like,
Yeah.
once this happens, it's like the whole idea of law, it was like this like fantasy setting for outlaw, like the
Yeah.
fantasy cowboy era. So it's like, yeah, man, there's not a whole lot of fixing that. And like, even if there is fixing it, like, it's also an era in which if posters go out, does anybody really go back to retract them? Like, how do you remove your posters?
Oh, I could tell you is that more than likely the local law would be told that that person has been captured.
Yeah.
Or the case goes cold and that gets sent out somehow. It's very unlikely that they're going to be like, well, it's been a week. I guess that's enough.
Yeah.
And then they're going to just pull down the poster. It's also not Red Dead. I understand it's a video game and I'm glad that they put this in it, but it's not Red Dead. You can't just go into the sheriff's office and pay off a $3,000 bounty and then walk out, you know, continue on your day.
And even then, like
You could bribe that sheriff to take it down in his office.
yeah.
Actually, that could be an avenue, is just go to every single town
Yeah.
and just be like, hey, here's some money, remove this.
Yeah.
And
Every
then
town that you're
if
going to
there's
go
a
into,
non-corrupt
yeah.
sheriff, it's like kill that sheriff and then go to the new one and be like, hey, remove this, please.
Yeah. I
Maybe.
mean, like in my mind too, is like as soon as those posters go out, like you'd be like, oh, let's go to the marshal of this county. And let's say you do something for them or whatever. You explain your situation. Like, all right, we're going to remove your bounty. Who's to say in that like week to months time, somebody hasn't picked up your poster and you've resolved it. You've gotten rid of your bounty and you're heading home.
Well,
And
you have a letter that exonerates you.
And some guy just sees you and pops you.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would have been such a good storyline of you guys getting yourself exonerated and then a bounty hunter comes after you.
Yeah. Why wouldn't that happen?
It
'Cause
would.
it takes weeks to travel anywhere. this guy found this bounty like how we would.
Yeah.
We went to town and just found it on like bulletin boards or in the sheriff's office and just took posters off the wall. And it's like, yeah, it would take us a week or two to find somebody. And it's like, yeah, man, we just say that's not going to happen to you and you're just fucked. Because again, the whole idea of G&G and how the game played is like the random bar owner, like whatever level, he could kill you. Like you could be fucked and you could be
you're just
level.
a person, yeah.
Yeah, you're just a person and it's guns.
Yeah.
Like guns could just kill you really easily in this world.
Fuck. I miss playing G&G. Fucking all this fantasy bullshit. You take a fucking like 400 sword swings to the face and you're fine. Get me back in the world where you get one bullet to the gut and you're gone. Well, maybe you shouldn't have gotten shot. Oh.
All right. You feel good about that? Cool. All right. I
Yeah,
guess that's the topic.
I'm sure I could dig for things, but no, I think this is good.
Yeah.
I think we got to a good place.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. You kissed them now. Ooh. You should feel so honored, I guess.
Thank you for listening to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones, talking about world events. I'm Sav. You can... Oh, wait, actually, sorry. Unfortunate Ones. Like, subscribe, hit bells, become a Patreon or website member. You could become both, but it would be pointless. But please do one, because it'll generate some revenue and make it so that we can make more cool stuff. We could maybe record more and put out some books and shit.
Yeah.
Tell us about the world events in your games in the comments.
I love how unenthusiastic about that one you were.
Yay.
Also, there are now, if you guys just want to check out either Patreon or the website, there will be some free episodes of the post show or the show with the post show on it. So if you guys want to check those out, go for it.
See our post show nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm Sav. You can find me over at startplaying.games. I run games professionally. You could join any of the games that are on there, or otherwise reach out to me if you want a custom request. I love custom requests. I'm homebrew heavy, so I literally just got one this week, and I'm super stoked to start writing for it.
Cool. I'm Nix. My link will be in the description. I'm just old YouTube videos. Check them out. You should feel good about yourself, Sav. You really should.
Laughing at your own jokes. I'm not even laughing I'm laughing at my own kisses.
Go ahead, Gray.
I'm Graythorn. I play games. I run them. I like to be the DM. I do not take custom requests. You're going to be forced to play in my world and my system, and you're going to like it. Yeah. I've started playing another game recently. It is a 0th level campaign. All the characters are 0th level wizards. They got 3 cantrips and a single spell, and they use a special resource called a cantrip pool because screw having infinite cantrips all the time, forever, always.
Yeah, I'm not into that either.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's now broadcasting live on Thursdays, and I should upload it on Fridays, so there's that.
Cool.
You should go watch that. It might even become a permanent campaign.
Nice.
Just because I love the sadism of my characters being 0 level.
Oh my god, it's so beautiful. I'd be into that.
Yeah.
Make me a
to put things into perspective, as I writ it, my 0 level characters need to hit like 2nd level XP to be 1st level. And in my last campaign, it lasted, I want to say, half a year. My players got to 2nd level.
So like half a year before they level up.
Yeah.
Or before they become a leveled adventurer.
Yeah.
Love it.
Fun times.
You're a
love
monster.
it. I'm really going to start leveling all of my players.
Well, it's hard for you. It's all RP, and people are just like...
Yeah, it is kind of rough when there is RP heavy sessions because like, I can't really give you guys XP for this, but I'll just throw you like 20 or 50. I don't know.
That's why I always do milestone, and then I do completing a task.
Yeah.
That's the way I've kind of sunken in to do it. Whatever it is, you guys decided that you have a quest. You have multiple quests running. and you complete a quest, that's a level. And that usually takes a very long time too, but at least there's progress towards it with RP.
I think I like XP because if multiple people have different fingers in different pots, they can get experience for whatever they're doing there.
I like world event leveling, where it doesn't matter what my players are doing, the world just determines your level.
I'm sorry, you guys, you leveled down to 3 from 5?
It's been 60 days in world. You guys are level 1 now.
Sorry, actually, we're going into the era in this world of Spell Plague.
Oh.
So all of my leveled mages are going to lose 3 levels.
Every day.
Marshals, go to level up. Wonderful. Well, thank you for listening. And we'll see you in the post show.
Yeah. See you there. Bye.